Welcome, Reds, to the 100% United pod. The Premier League's back in full swing, mixed feelings after Friday's 1-1 draw at Spurs. I'm your host, TC. Plenty to get stuck into today with Manchester United back in action on Wednesday. First, let's look back on that disappointing draw in North London. Scott and I jumped on straight after the game, so now I've had a bit of time to calm down and look at the bigger picture and what's to come. Look, we've got the hardest game out of the way in our run-in, and the next hardest game, you'd have to say, is Leicester, which is going to be on the last day of the season. So we've got a very winnable 7 games from now until then, and we have got a good chance for that 4th spot still. 5th spot might be good enough for Europe. As we know, City's a pending ban. But look, let's look back at that Spurs side. As I say, me and Scott jumped on straight after the game, and we were a bit raw. We were disappointed. It looked like we might have snatched the win at the end with that penalty appeal and penalty award before VAR came and turned it over. I still think that if we had another 10-15 minutes, we would have won that at the end. I really do. I think we, again, threw the kitchen sink late on, and just disappointing. Just disappointing that we ran out of time. Let's start with the positives anyway. We'll get onto the negatives after, because after the game we were obviously looking at the negatives because we dropped 2 points. But as I say, another 10-15 minutes, and I'm sure we would have won that game. The big positive that came out of it, I'm sure, is Pogba coming on and looking like he could play with Bruno Fernandes. We were creating all kinds of things. We were playing against a low block, like Mourinho likes to play. We have struggled when we've had the Lions' share of possession in general since Ollie took over. So to have 2 players who can link up like that and create when teams are sitting so deep, it's got to be a plus point for us. Look, Mason Greenwood looked so sharp when he came on too, didn't he? And again, a player who is capable of weaving his magic in tight spaces. So another positive in terms of Greenwood's display. Matic came off the bench, of course. I would have started Matic against Spurs. I said it in the preview pod. I really think that when you want to attack, when you want to put 2 attacking players in midfield, in Bruno and Pogba as well, you've got to have that defensive shield. Not only is able to push the ball forward and drive forward with the ball, obviously not his forte, is protecting the back 4, who after Friday night's game looked like they need a bit of protection. The other big thing you've got to look at is it was our first game back after the break. Massive mistakes can't be excused just because you've been off on a break, but you just look at the performances of some other teams. You got Sheffield United, got spanked at Newcastle 3-0. Arsenal, absolute capitulation. If you're ever feeling down about United, have a pop over at Arsenal. Have a look at one of their famous fan channels and that'll cheer you right up. Liverpool weren't able to take all 3 points, almost dropped all 3 points away at Everton as well. So there were, Chelsea struggled, and unfortunately got the points in the end, but there were signs that other teams were struggling even more than us after this long break. So look, it's been 3 months. You do have to bear that in mind. You really do. On the negative side, look, we discussed it after the game, didn't we? The hesitant substitutions. Ollie, we worried when 5 subs came in that it might not benefit us as much as it could do. And we were crying out for a change at half time. And once Matic, Pogba and Greenwood were on, it made a big difference. And we did look, like I say, another few minutes and I'm sure we would have won that game. And you just wonder if those substitutions had been done earlier, at least 2 of them, maybe Pogba and Greenwood, because James was getting the ball in tight spaces. We weren't using his pace. And if you're going to play Fred and McTominay anyway, it's not like you've got a big defensive behemoth in Matic. So you might as well put that midfield magic in there as well. I know some people say Pogba's been out for so long. Marcus Rashford's been out for so long too, hasn't he? He's been out since January and he played the full 90 minutes. So look, I think that's it's one that stuck out is the substitutions again. In terms of other negatives, you have to say De Gea and Maguire and their mistakes leading up to the goal. You can't just pinpoint both of them. Luke Shaw has questions to answer as well. Header and then started bombing forward. Maguire got skinned. Lindelof could possibly have come across a bit quicker. And then De Gea, I've had a few days to calm down after it. But I have to say I'm still in the camp of that was an absolute disastrous piece of goalkeeping. It was right down his throat. There's no changing my mind on that one. It was a really, really bad keeper error. The Knives have been out, haven't they? Roy Keane slammed him at half time. Gary Neville's come in now and said that his foot is not a blip. It's been a permanent thing for a long stretch of time now with David De Gea. And we did say it on the pod before, didn't we? And Gary Neville's echoed those sentiments that it was that World Cup 2018, when his confidence really seemed to be battered. And he's just, Gary Neville says it must be a mental thing, and that's exactly what we said. It has to be a mental thing because he's not getting old for a keeper. He's still the same body. And the one thing I'd say is that he very, very often makes 1, 2, maybe 3 really good saves after a mistake. And that again points to something being mental. Those mistakes woken him up and he's back to being that world-class keeper. His save from Son was a very good save. I wouldn't say it was an absolute worldie, but there is a habit. There is a habit with De Gea where he'll make a mistake and then he'll make up for it in inverted commas. But the mistakes they're too basic at the moment and they're too often as well. So big disappointment there. I must say, I think in midfield, we were back to the old habit of taking too many touches on the ball again as well. We weren't moving the ball forward quickly enough, and it points back again. I'm banging the same drum. I do apologise, but you might as well have Matic in there. Get it off quickly to Pogba, get it off quickly to Bruno, and let them weave their magic. Instead, McTominay and Fred very often taking the easy pass instead of the probing pass. There were times where there was a more difficult pass, but it really would have propelled the team forward. And we went back to that old habit that we picked that easy option, especially against a Marino team where they're trying to reorganise. That extra touch, that easy pass, it just allows them to get back into shape and it makes our job that load harder. Look, the other big negative has to be Chelsea taking all 3 points. They went 1-0 down to Villa. Looked like we might get out of jail free, didn't it? It really did. And unfortunately, they had the fortitude to bounce back and win 2-1 in the end. So they now sit 5 points ahead of us. Big negative. It looked Sheffield United, as I say, dropped points again. So that was one out of the way. And then we were just keeping our fingers crossed, hoping that Chelsea would fall foul. They did struggle, they did huff and they did puff. And look, they were playing one of their easier games as well. So when you look at the weekend as a whole, as I say, I'm a bit cooler now than I was straight after the game on Friday. It's always hard doing a pod straight after the game when the emotions are running high. But when you look at it, if you look at all the games next to each other, you say this might be a weekend where Chelsea get more points than us. But you look at some of the other games coming up, which we'll get to later, and we're not out of this fight by any stretch. But it's a massive week. It really is a massive week coming up. One more point before we move on from the Spurs game. As me and Scott discussed on Friday night, that Marcus Rashford was due to take that second penalty. Now, for my mind, Bruno's our nailed-on number one penalty taker. And I really hope we don't go back down the old route that we went to, where we share it around and it's almost like a blooming Sunday league team where you give each other a chance. The one thing I would say is I'm not so bothered if you have 2 penalties in the same game, your first choice takes the first one and someone else takes the second one, keep the goalkeeper. Keep it as sort of a neutral thing. Once you've taken 1 penalty, there's almost that sort of game of cat and mouse that gets played with a keeper. So I don't know if that's the case. I can deal with that. But if we're going to start saying, now if we get a penalty on Wednesday against Sheffield United and Rashford's on the pitch and Bruno's on the pitch, if Rashford's taking that penalty, I don't think that's a good idea at all. And you look at the ratios, look, Rashford's missed 2 penalties this season. Bruno's missed 2 penalties in his whole career, and one of them was in 2016, one of them in 2018, both with his traditional run-up, funnily enough, without the hop, which he obviously used as traditional run-up on Friday night. But for me, look, I think Bruno's got 23 out of 25 in his career, above a 90% success rate. I just don't see the reason to be doing that. And I do worry if it's the same thing where Ollie's saying you make the decision out on the field, when you're having a discussion about who's going to take the penalty before the penalty, I think it's bad news. I think it's just adding a whole load of extra pressure on top of what is already a massive pressure situation. So I pray that Bruno stays on duty, Rashford's number 2, and we go from there. Because we've been down this road before and it ended in blooming disaster. It ended in missed penalties all over the show. So I really hope Ollie's firm and says, look, Bruno's our number 1. And we go from there. So looking ahead, it's we've got Sheffield United on Wednesday. Now, the first thing to mention, of course, Sheffield United got spanked by Newcastle 3-0, absolutely demolished. John Egan got sent off, so he will be suspended. Dean Henderson will not be permitted to play either because he's on loan from us. Just a quick note, some people I heard comparing Henderson's mistake with De Gea's. It wasn't anywhere near it. I don't think it was even a mistake. That really was point blank. And he went with his foot and it ended up in the back of the net. It looked like an awful defensive error, really. You'd like your keeper to be saving that, but I certainly wouldn't be slamming my keeper ever for letting that one in. First thing to look at, of course, Sheffield United's confidence is going to be down. Chris Wilder, the boss, said that they almost were feeling sorry for themselves on the pitch at Newcastle, which has got to be a good sign for us if they're chucking in the towel against Newcastle. Also, it's great to see that they were so exposed by pace as well. Look, if there's one thing we've got, we've definitely got pace. And whoever we line up with, we're going to have a load of pace in that side. So that might influence the team selection for Ollie. The other big thing you have to look at is we played on Friday night. Sheffield United played on Sunday evening. So if you're talking about 5 days to prepare or 3 days to prepare, that's a big difference. It really is. Those two extra days for United really could be crucial, especially as all these players are trying to get match fitness up. Sheffield United have played 2 games. We've only played 1. They've already had a 90-minute on the Wednesday, the Sunday, and then they'll go Wednesday again, whereas we're Friday. We've got that prep time in terms of organisation. Well, Sheffield United won't. They'll be on recovery day today. And then tomorrow they'll have a training session, which will be a run-through, I presume, for the United game. So, yeah, really set up for us to have a go at Sheffield United and blow them out of the park. It'll, of course, be the first game back at Old Trafford. It'll be absolutely bananas seeing Old Trafford empty with the awnings that you've seen around the pitch in other stadiums. But it's going to be eerie. It's going to be mad. I wonder if they'll still play This Is the One as they come out. It's going to be really, really weird, I must say. Really, really mad stuff. But look, how we line up is going to be very important, of course. David De Gea, you'd say probably keeper's position. I can't see Ollie dropping him for Romero after 1 game back after the break. It was a howler. There's no getting away from it. We do have question marks there, but you do expect De Gea to start in goal. Wan-Bissaka, as right back, he's nailed on there, of course. Harry Maguire nailed on there in the centre of defence too as our skipper. Other 2 spots might be up for grabs. Victor Lindelof and Maguire still doesn't look like it's a match made in heaven to me. I'd love to see Bailly back alongside Maguire. You've got that recovery pace. I just think they complement each other better. I really do. And I actually think Bailly's a better defender than Victor Lindelof personally. So I'd like to see Bailly come back in. But I've said that a lot of times on the pod. And then we've seen Lindelof and Maguire come out. So hopefully we'll have Bailly in there. Left back, Luke Shaw, obviously suspect positioning for their goal. He did get put forward a bit better in the second half. He did look like he ran out of legs a little bit at the end though there. So wouldn't be 100% surprised if Brandon Williams started at left back. But of course we've got the cup game against Norwich on Saturday evening. So it might be a case of play Luke Shaw again and then bring Williams in for the cup game. But I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Brandon come in because Shaw did look a bit leggy at the end. But that one, again, we'll have to wait and see. Look, the midfield has been the question on everybody's lips, and how do you fit Pogba and Bruno Fernandes in? Are we going to fit Bruno Fernandes and Pogba in together? I think after the Spurs game, we've got to. Sheffield United are not exactly an attacking, free-flowing side. They're going to try and keep it tight at Old Trafford, and I'd hope that we try and fit them both in. Look, before the Spurs game, I was screaming out for a diamond formation in midfield. I would have loved to see Matic there holding Pogba and Bruno. Pogba maybe playing off the left, Bruno up top, or vice versa. And then McTominay or Fred on the right, maybe McTominay, and then really give Pogba and Fernandes that chance to pull forward. But against Sheffield United, you'd have to say we can probably afford to play Matic holding and then have Pogba and Fernandes in the midfield slots. I really hope it goes for it. Look, we've got 8 games left of the season. There's no time to make too many mistakes and then claw them back. We got to go for it. And when you've got 2 players with such magic, I say let's blooming go for it. I really do. Up top, out on the right, Danny James, he's always got a good mentality. He's always working hard. But Mason Greenwood was just sublime when he came on. He was brilliant. He was obviously just warming up, obviously getting match fitness back, but the class of that lad is just off the scale. He was brilliant. He almost scored a couple of times. He also triggers counter-attacks so well. He just, his manipulation of the ball in tight spaces. He looks stronger now as well. He looks to have really benefited from the break physically. I'd love to see him start on the right, and I think he will. I think Greenwood will start. The other two spots, you've got Martial and Rashford started against Spurs. Both missed gilt-edged chances. Unfortunately, there was a massive, massive chance for Rashford, and Martial had a great opening or 2-2. I'd say they'll probably keep their places. The question mark I've got is Marcus Rashford played 90 minutes. Pogba was only good for 30, and Rashford's in a similar sort of situation as Pogba's, of course, played more football in this season than Pogba has, but they've been out for a similar amount of time, maybe Pogba a month more. But for him to play 90 minutes on a Friday and then again on a Wednesday, I don't know. Again, it might be a matter of put him on, see how long he lasts, and then maybe rest him for the Norwich Cup game. I think we're going to see quite a few changes for the Cup game on Saturday. Some people calling for Odion Ighalo to come in up top. I thought Martial was all right. I know people saying he didn't have enough touches, but like I said, we were taking too many touches in midfield. We weren't probing, and that always affects your number 9. And his movement when the ball was in dangerous areas was positive. When Pogba came on, he seemed to come alive even more. And there was an argument, of course, that Martial maybe should have stayed on and Rashford gone off after not playing for so many months on top of the break. But Ollie has big faith in Rashford, of course. So he'll want to start Rashford. It would just come down to a fitness thing, I would have thought. But it's nice to have that Ighalo option to come off the bench. But I'd certainly expect to see Greenwood, Matic and Pogba come into that side. I think we look a lot stronger side with those three in it at this point in time. And look, if we need some pace, if we need to bring Danny James on 20 minutes, 30 minutes to go, Sheffield United tiring after they've just played on Sunday, Danny James is the perfect man for that, isn't he? And they do struggle against pace. So look, let's hope Ollie uses substitutions better. Let's hope we put out a positive formation and really just go and attack Sheffield United, because they look like they're there for the taking. They look like they haven't really carried on where they left off at all. They're going to be stung by those defensive absentees. And it's a crucial game for us. I can't state strongly enough about how important this game is. Look, we sit behind Chelsea, 46 points to 51. So there's a 5-point gap there. But we play on the Wednesday. Chelsea play City on Thursday. So we can close that gap to 2 points before Chelsea play City. We can also put Sheffield United out of the game. They do sit still on 44 points with a game in hand. So if they were to turn us over, they would actually go above us. So we really need to take this opportunity, smash Sheffield United out of the race, and propel ourselves closer to Chelsea before their massive game against City. It's so tight around that 4th spot. Look, we've got Chelsea. Wolves are on level on points. They had a good win at the weekend, level on points with us. Spurs on 42 points, so they're only 4 points behind us. They play on Tuesday against West Ham, so it's very possible that when we play Sheffield United, Spurs are going to be 1 point behind us. This is a really, really critical week. I said before the season restarted, it's June that is the crucial time. July, we've got a very, very favourable run of fixtures. It's June, I beg your pardon, with Spurs, Sheffield United and the FA Cup game too. We've got to take advantage of this opportunity. They're there for the taking, and it will be a massive uphill struggle if we don't put them to bed. Look, I've got full faith in Ollie and the lads. I do understand we've been off for a few months, but we've got to take the 3 points against Sheffield United. It's absolutely crucial. Little bit of a transfer rumours news, as usual. We love a transfer rumour, 100% United pod. Jadon Sancho was actually left on the bench until the 78th minute at the weekend against Red Bull Leipzig. Dortmund sources in Germany saying that Sancho's head is already at United. Didn't celebrate too much with Erling Haaland when he grabbed the second right at the end there when he was on the field. It does look as if it's pushing more and more towards United. There was another leak coming out of Germany saying that 100 million euros and he's ours. I think United are probably still holding out to pay less than that. I don't think we'll be splashing out 100 million euros, but something close to that, 10, 15, 20 less, and Sancho really could be ours. So that was positive news coming out of Germany again. I know it's another silly leak, but it's permanent. Is it happening again and again and again now with Sancho? And sometimes there's no smoke without fire, and you just think the rumours are growing so strong now. Chelsea have already got Timo Werner, and they were supposedly the team that was going to go head to head with us. Chelsea look like they're going to make some moves in the transfer market. Well, they already have, haven't they, as well? But they're the ones with the financial wherewithal to go out and get big players this summer. We are too. Chelsea out of the race. So very, very positive stuff surrounding Jadon Sancho. There's quite a few United fans getting their knickers in a twist over Jude Bellingham's Father's Day picture. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there, and my old man, of course, too. But he posted a picture of his dad saying Happy Father's Day, thanks for all you do for me. I believe he represents him as well. And the picture was him coming out of Carrington with his family. So there was all sorts of people coming out and saying, look, we got him. This is a sign. But now, just in the last few minutes, actually, again, the Dortmund story is being reaffirmed by other journalists, and they're saying that Dortmund are actually going to snag Jude Bellingham. So again, funny transfer stories. They're still happening. We did say they'd stop when the season started, but of course not. But yeah, there was a bit of fun, of course, over the weekend. Another bit of, you'd have to say, positive transfer news is Real Valladolid. Ronaldo, Brazilian Ronaldo, of course, is the main man there these days. And he said that if Alexis Sanchez is available, then our doors are open to him. They're well cash funded as a club. And that's nice to know that we've got another option. Sanchez might well be up for a move to Spain. He's obviously struggled in his time at United. I mean, it's been a total disaster. Hasn't set the world alight at Inter either. Other rumours saying that Inter might want to keep him. So it's nice to know there's a few options out there. And we're not going to be stuck with Sanchez at Old Trafford, although we will be paying, I'm sure, the lion's share of his wages, as blooming usual. Another massive week coming up for United. We've got all the opportunities to get this fourth spot. We really do. Chelsea's running. It's littered with speed bumps. They've still got City to play. They've still got Liverpool to play. They've still got a number of London clubs to play too. But it starts this week. The season has got to get re-kick started on Wednesday. And let's hope Ollie gets it right and we come home with a handsome victory and propel through to the next round of the FA Cup and really get this Project Restart started again. Thanks for joining me today, everybody. Make sure you're following our Instagram at United100 Podcast and subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your pods. Whack a review and a 5-star rating too. We'll be back straight after the Sheffield United game. Let's hope we're back with a big win. Take care. Cheerio, Reds.